clica, carnal. Por vida ese. Por vida.
Hey yo, my name's Gachuz, 26-year-old, straight out of Southside, Iraq, and this is my story. Um, from Sacramento, California. Parents are from Pachuca and Actopan, Hidalgo, Mexico. My mom, I think my dad came first, late 80s. My mom came a little after, late 80s also, not exactly on the dates. The oldest of three, one one younger brother than me passed away. Uh, it's pretty hard because parents came right after the 80s, the crack era, and then the whole 90s gangster era. So it was different cultures coming from Mexico to the U.S. Well, obviously I'm a 90s baby, so I like to say we're just or mid 90s, and we're just like the aftermath of the 90s growing up. The whole aftermath of the Bloods and Crips, fucking Brown Pride, all that. You know, it was an interesting era compared to how it is today. Um, well, they don't call Southside Iraq for nothing. I want to say like 10 plus years ago, it used to be worse because I used to live right next to a freeway, and we had that freeway wall and a lot of tagging, graffiti. My neighbors, some of they were from LA, so they had their culture and affiliations. Norteños, cousins that were Sureños. I had an uncle locked up. He was the youngest one, so obviously he came young, so he took it in harder than most of us of the family. The nice thing about my little section where I live at, it's a circle. So we had like I feel like it was like a neutral zone, like of all that gang stuff. But once you got out, you walked one certain block, you're with the Norteños. You walk the other direction, you're with the Sureños. But it was back in the day. It was just based off colors, and as time progressed, it went. I feel like it just went off blocks afterward because sometimes even own colors go against each other. It like Northern California and Southern California, two different perspectives of how they function or how they work and network. So yeah. Growing up, you start slowly seeing friends. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start banging this color, start banging that color, um, and like drugs are just starting to get involved, and there was a lot of violence in the neighborhood. They broke into my house once when I was a kid. My uncle got locked up for like I want to say 20 years. It might have been less, but it felt like that because I just grew up with collect calls. My mom would always call him. I have pictures with him when I was a kid, like an infant, but I don't remember that. As you get older, yeah, you start losing them. They either start going in and out of juvie, or they start moving schools because of fights, like over colors. You start, you know, at that time it just seemed normal. You know. I mean, I was young. I like my dad would always take out for walks. You know, skateboarding was fun at some point in my life. Soccer, swimming. I did a lot of sports. I think that's one thing that was a big hobby in my life was just sports that kept me out of trouble. As a kid, I wanted to be a paleontologist only because as a boy you get either choose cars or you choose dinosaurs. And well, obviously I picked dinosaurs. Um, Good kid. Elementary school, good kid. For the most part, yeah, good kid. Middle school is when I started either ditching or, you know, obviously I believe every kid started rebelling at middle school. Started drinking, started stealing my dad's beer, or my friend used to steal my friend's beer or his dad's beer, or the older brothers used to get us alcohol. Shit, probably like 12, 13 years old. I mean, we're Mexican. It's in our blood. I would like to say I wasn't, but maybe I was getting drunk, you know? But yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yes and no. Only because the first thing I did try was in fourth grade, weed, and I couldn't get a hold of it, so obviously I didn't continue that vice. But you know, I knew I liked it. Um, I was hanging out with my neighbors, and my mom hated it just because of how they were, and obviously because they had older brothers that were always getting into trouble. But one night we were just hanging out late. It was like not late, late as for a kid. It was probably like 8, 9 at night, and one day the older brother, I think he had middle school or something, and he just comes up to me and my boy at that time, and he's like, "Hey man, trying to smoke?" And I was like, and that was as a kid, I was fascinated by the smoke, just the smoke, you know, not the whatever happened. I just had no idea what's gonna happen. But yeah, we just go, we sneak to the back into the backyard, and I remember it was a grape swisher. It was and like grape swisher ever since. But he just lights it, and I'm like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're kids, we're innocent still. And I remember hitting it. I just like coughing instantly. He's like, "No, you gotta let it out slowly." All right, cool, cool. We smoked it. I remember like the moon just got big, and I was just like, as innocent as I was, I didn't think I was high. But I remember going home. I was like, "Why are your eyes red?" I'm like, "My eyes are red." And I'm like, "I don't know, mom." It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to sleep though. Like, and that's like the first experience of smoking weed. The glory of that when I was growing up and having weed. My mom was, uh, well, at least where she's from, she was sheltered from seeing weed and drugs. So she did not know how it smelled. She didn't know the effects or anything. So for the longest period, I was getting away with it. So there was no aftermath, no cost. I guess she assumed I was tired that night. My dad knew about it, but my dad, since he worked so much, he come home tired. He'll do his side jobs in the afternoon. He wasn't really involved. Like he was, but he wasn't around, Like he just worked a lot. Um, it did, you know, selling, just start selling at a younger age, especially high school. there was really no motivation. I just liked money. I like to hustle. I like to get what I wanted because actually, I got tired of stealing. I used to steal a lot from the stores and having to fucking pretend to walk out like I'm alright. Wondering if it's just gonna beep, am I gonna run? you know? Nah. Like um like my neighbor once told me, an old folk, like he just moved recently, like a couple years ago. Right before he left, he's like, you know, your parents don't raise you. It takes a village to raise a kid. And I'm like, yeah, if I maybe grew up somewhere else, like a nicer area, or maybe the fact that maybe if we didn't have to struggle, there's times where my parents couldn't give me something, and I was like, all right, I got to go out there and figure out how am I going to achieve this or obtain this object or thing that I want. Um, when I was 6, I remember walking to this park that we used to call it Hidden Park, Flooring Creek for the ones that don't know. And I remember walking to the park, and this whole set was pretty nice. It had like a little creek, little up and down hills, soccer field, and you know, from the side I entered, the park was on the other side, so I always had to walk across. And I just remember walking, and my mom would not want me to go there because she's heard stories of what happens there. Homeless people setting up camps because there was a bush that hid like this whole half section of the park, and it's called Hidden Park for a reason. And I remember just walking and just seeing my first dead body there, head bashed in, blood everywhere, like he's laying right in front of a park, or not in front, right in front of the park, right in front of the tree, and that was that. I think that affected me growing up. I didn't really start realizing it until I got older. The more fights I would get into, I want to say because of what I saw, like when I fights and I get the chance, I'll bash his head. And sometimes I think back, like, is this the only reason I do that is because what I saw as a kid? You know, I mean, that's one of the worst things where it all began. I seen, man, as a kid, I think crazy thing. Now looking back, I think it was stupid, but at the time, I thought it was like when I started seeing weed more around. I remember people would like roll up weed in a dollar bill or something and just smoke it like that. I was like, at the time, like, yeah, that's crazy. You're bringing a fucking dollar. But see all that. You hear gun shootings and stuff. There was just one night where my dad woke me up because the right where we lived, right in front of my house, they a helicopter shined the light on my block, and the whole thing was lit. I don't know if you've ever seen it. When a cop's helicopter's on you, it's bright as fuck. But there was my whole block. There was fucking everybody was fighting, and my dad just woke me up like, "Hey, look, they're fighting!" Like I was like, "What the fuck's going on? This is the middle of the night." But that was pretty crazy because my dad's like, "Just stay inside, lock the doors, make sure everything's good." Like it was like right outside my house, and that I mean, as a kid, that's crazy. Like you don't think of it much, but at the same time, it's like, what the fuck did I just see? Like, why? What's going on? There was this other time where I was walking home, my friend. There was this nice red cherry Impala, and a group of people just red tees, guns, Uzis out, AKs. It was crazy. As a kid, I was fascinated. I wasn't scared. I was like, hey, like, what's going on? Looking back, I'm pretty sure it was a music video, but just seeing that was just like, whoa, that's tight. But like a lot of shit happened around the block. We used to get a lot, like not a lot of homeless people, but there was a creek right where I lived, and a lot of homeless people would sleep down there, and I would always see them crawling out of that place. Around the same time, like third, fourth grade, when I started, this when I started being aware of what my position is as a Mexican. You know, like there was a girl I fucking liked, and I remember like my dad was good friends with her dad, and I used to walk her home to her apartment with her mom, obviously. You know, little puppy love shit. You know, like picking flowers for her, like here, like you know. And I remember just seeing her every day, and one day from the next, she was gone. The immigration came from her parents. That's when I started realizing the difference between immigration, like immigrants, and being born here. You know, like my parents would tell me how lucky I was, but I never understood it until that started happening. Always, you know, my dad will always, at a young age, like whatever happens, just know you're gonna be the man of the house. So I need you to be aware of whatever happens, just know that you know you always gotta have a plan. Yeah, a lot of pressure, especially after my dad's got diabetes. Pressure was even more. He started applying more pressure when I was starting to become more rebellious, especially high school. I think that's when I started becoming more aware, but it didn't hit me hard until after I got arrested. Um, it was stupid. It was just it was just bad timing. You know, I was what barely beginning like junior year, October. I always forget if it was either Tuesday or Thursday morning. I just wanted to stay home one day, and my mom was like, "Well, I'll call the cops. You know, they'll take you, force you to go." I'm like, "Go ahead, call them." Like, just want to stay home one day. Like, I'll tell them I'm not feeling good or something. And well, I didn't get the right cop that day. You know, he came, knocked on the door, and I just remember looking. I was like, "Oh, we heard there's disturbance here." I was like, "Nah, we don't need help." Like, so I tried closing the door on him, and this guy at the time I was way skinnier. I was athletic, you know. So I was skinnier, and I tried closing the door on him. This guy was a heavy set guy, probably like over 200 pounds, maybe high 200. He was a heavy set guy. I remember him slamming the door open, and it was weird. Like my fucking, it felt like like you know how in the games you get hit with a concussion grenade and like get the high pitch. And I just remember him just pointing at me and just saying some shit. And I was just like in my head, like, what the fuck's going on? Like this is really happening. And I just remember fucking just pushing his hand down, like, yo, don't disrespect me in my house. And that's when he like got like in stance, like ready to, like pull the gun out. And I was like, well, like what the fuck? But then he ultimately ended up tackling me into my to my closet to the point where like it snapped in half. And naturally, I was trying to defend myself at this point. Confused as to like, whoa, like why are you getting super aggressive now? And I'm like, we're on the ground, struggling to like obtain the higher, the upper hand. And ultimately, he yeah, ultimately I ended up dislocating his right knee or something. And then he ends up just getting on top of me, takes the gun out. He's like, "Hey, turn the fuck around." And I was like, that's when I'm like, I felt like my life was flashing before my eyes. Like, I heard enough stories. I'm like, yo, like, I'm going to the news. I'm going to be like the next kid. And I just ultimately, I was like, fuck it, turn around. Like, what's the point, And I remember at this point, I think he already called backup at this point. And he ends up ultimately putting one handcuff on, twisting my arm back. And then he had his right knee on my neck. And I started seeing stars. Like, it all happened so quick, like, and then he starts yelling, "Quit resisting arrest." And I'm in my head, like, I can't move. Like, I can't move. But, like, from, like, the way since we were in front of the door, I saw the door crept open. And to my assumption, I feel like he was doing it on purpose. Because I saw the backup coming. And he ultimately gets his taser out and tases me 3 times. And, handcuffs me. And, fucking, that's when, like, my mom's there, my aunt's there, my whole block, just for me, I felt like the motherfucking president. I had, like, probably, like, 5, 6 patrol cars right outside my house, my whole block, everyone's, like, out, like, what the fuck, cheese muscles. Just like, yo, what the fuck's going on, So, like, I felt embarrassed, like, fuck, like, this big old scene just for nothing, And I remember just, like, for, like, a month, I didn't feel half my face, 3 of my fingers, all this was numb. And I was scared. I was like, yo, like, I can't feel it, like, And, like, we're immigrants. We don't know how to defend ourselves. We don't know our rights. We don't know what we can and cannot say. But, ultimately, like, you figure out, you learn stuff, especially going in. You learn, like, what cops can and cannot do. And a cop shouldn't have barged into my house without me letting him know, like, yeah, come in. I should have been checked by a doctor. Like, yo, you got tased 3 times. Like, let's see if your heart's okay. Like, whatever happened. Like, I still have the police reports. Like, I'll look at them back from time to time. But, like, I had bruising all across my neck, my back, half my face. But and then reading the police report, they say that I was under the influence, that I initiated the fight, that, but they never wrote that they tased me, and that was some straight bullshit. But, I've been trying to this day to, like, hey, send me the photos, because, like, when they take you in, you have to take photos of, like, the room, the destruction of the room, of, the person, whatever. But, like, just for a guy to be like, yeah, this guy, like, he took the upper hand on me. I'm like, yo, like, you're like twice my weight. And they were throwing a minimum of 5 years. So I went to juvie. They had me in the holding tank, and I remember my parents visited me, and I was just like, look, this is what they're trying to do, and, don't pay nothing out of it. Like, I'll do the time. Like, it's good. My parents worried, scared. They obviously, got me out. So I was out, but I had to go to court to get officially sentenced. But yeah, from the beginning, we originally got, like, a public defender, piece of shit motherfucker. This motherfucker right here, he's like, hey, it's alright, man, just do the 5 years, And like I said, once you're in there, you learn how the system is fucking corrupt. This guy just wanted to get his numbers up, like, okay, next guy, let's get this over with. And I remember going up to, I was like, fuck you. Like, I'm not doing no 5 years. Like, and I was like, your life's set. My life, I'm barely beginning. Like, you got me fucked up. And that's when I told my mom, like, look, I don't want you to pay for a lawyer. I'll do the time. I was already like, I set my mind, like I was at peace. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna be, I was like months away from turning 18, so they were gonna transfer me to county regardless. So I just mentally just accepted what was gonna happen. Honestly, I was thinking about killing because I heard shit about getting raped, especially being young. I was like, I'd rather kill somebody than getting fucking raped. Ultimately, my parents ended up doing like a payment plan for this lawyer, Justin Lamar Ward. He was a cool guy. Um, but he got it sentenced to had to go to drug and alcohol counseling, anger management counseling. As part of my plea, I had to do community service. I feel like 3, 4 months, and then I had to have you on house arrest on an ankle for like sober. January, February, like 4 months. I think I was supposed to do like more. I think I was supposed to do like a year or so. But I bullshitted some story because I was like naturally I'm a swimmer. So I'm like, oh, swim season's starting. So I'm like, I can't do my sport if I have this. So that's the only reason I got off. Like I said, Justin was dope. He got it off, but I did not go swimming, obviously. I mean, I met people in there, and especially during community service, like I started moving heavier shit just because I started getting the connects and all that. But ultimately, I got kicked out of the school I was at because like, oh, we can't have that image here, and I had to make up like a shit ton of credits because I missed like almost like half a year of school, and I just you know had to go public school again and just had to go had to in order to graduate on time, I had to go 0 through 8th period, which is like 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. at night or in the afternoon. No, that was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that for a whole year, you know? I mean, there's always something you want to change, but ultimately, I like where I came out. Just keep your head up, you know what I'm saying? Shit's always gonna happen. Don't be a bitch.